Welcome to episode 1 of The Bible in Pictures. I'm very excited to begin this series as I read through the entire Bible from Genesis through Revelation. Last year, a friend of mine and I on YouVersion app went through a devotional by Bible Project. And they have all their videos that you're able to stream and download for free on Bible Project on YouTube. And so years ago, I had the idea to read through the Bible. I believe I actually started, but the availability to do a professional sounding podcast was not as, readily available as it is now. And special shout out to Shelley Burks, who did the devotional with me all year. James H. Carpenter Barnes, who let me know that I had a good microphone, but I was using it incorrectly and I had to buy a stand. Thank you to my mom, Donna Payne, for buying the microphone. And thank you to my Patreon supporters. With their help, I purchased this camera. And so I am all ready to do a video series for you all, which will be here on Simply Felicity Media every single day, at least 5 days a week. I just realized I might not want to commit to every day. No, sorry. Okay, God's saying every day. Every day until I finish the series. And I believe that they'll be about 15 minutes long a day. If you do, so the theory is if you do about 2 of them, you'll get through the Bible in a year. Yeah, I believe that's what has been said. And what else did I want to say? I'm not sure. Thank you for watching. If you also would like to support the different videos and talk shows that I do, please go to patreon.com/felicityjoy, and I will have that in the comments and description as well. You can be a monthly patron and just support a young girl's dreams. So I cannot thank my many patrons enough for doing this. So you all encourage me every month that I can do this. So you can do it too. If you never thought you could make it through the Bible in a year, you can. And you can be encouraged in your understanding of the Word of God through these videos that I'm going to play before I read. Almost every day before I read, there will be a new video. So it's going to keep you engaged. And I hope that my voice brings you calm and peace, love, joy, and encouragement. Let's begin on this journey as I share with you our first video, an overview of Genesis, beginning right at the beginning. So next time I'll do my introduction as I am setting this up, so there won't be as much of a break in between. But away we go, ladies and gentlemen.
It's the first book of the Bible, and its storyline divides into two main parts. There's chapters 1 through 11, which tell the story of God and the whole world. And then there's chapters 12 through 50, which zoom in and tell the story of God and just one man, Abraham, and then his family. And these two parts are connected by a hinge story at the beginning of chapter 12. And this design, it gives us a clue to how to understand the message of the book as a whole and how it introduces the story of the whole Bible. So the book begins with God taking the disorder and the darkness described in the second sentence of the Bible, and God brings out of it order and beauty and goodness. He makes a world where life can flourish. And God makes these creatures called humans, or Adam in Hebrew. He makes them in his image, which has to do with their role and purpose in God's world. So the humans are made to be reflections of God's character out into the world, and they're appointed as God's representatives to rule his world on his behalf, which in context means to harness all of its potential, to care for it, and make it a place where even more life can flourish. God blesses the humans. It's a key word in this book. And he gives them a garden. It's like a place from which they begin starting to build this new world. Now, the key is that the humans have a choice about how they're going to go about building this world. And that's represented by the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Up till now, God has provided and defined what is good and what is not good. But now God is giving the humans the dignity and the freedom of a choice. Are they going to trust God's definition of good and evil, or are they going to seize autonomy and define good and evil for themselves? And the stakes are really high. To rebel against God is to embrace death, because you're turning away from the giver of life himself. This is represented by the tree of life. And so in chapter 3, a mysterious figure, a snake, enters into the story. The snake's given no introduction other than it's a creature that God made. And it becomes clear that it's a creature in rebellion against God, and it wants to lead the humans into rebellion and their death. The snake tells a different story about the tree and the choice. It says that seizing the knowledge of good and evil are not going to bring death, that it's actually the way to life and becoming like God themselves. Now, the irony of this is tragic, because we know the humans, they're already like God. They were made to reflect God's image. But instead of trusting God, the humans seize autonomy, they take the knowledge of good and evil for themselves, and in an instant, the whole story spirals out of control. The first casualty is human relationships. The man and the woman, they suddenly realize how vulnerable they are. Now, they can't even trust each other. And so they make clothes and they hide their bodies from one another. The second casualty is that intimacy between God and the humans is lost. So they go and run and hide from God, and then when God finds them, they start this game of blame shifting about who rebelled first. Now, right here, the story stops, and there's a series of short poems where God declares to the snake and then to the humans the tragic consequences of their actions. God first tells the snake that despite its apparent victory, it is destined for defeat, to eat dust. God promises that one day a seed, or a descendant, will come from the woman who's going to deliver a lethal strike to the snake's head, which sounds like great news, but this victory is going to come with a cost, because the snake too will deliver a lethal strike to the descendant's heel as it's being crushed. It's a very mysterious promise of this wounded victor. But in the flow of the story so far, you see this is an act of God's grace. The humans, they've just rebelled, and what does God do? He promises to rescue them. But this doesn't erase the consequences of the humans' decision. So God informs them that now every aspect of their life together, at home and out in the field, it's going to be fraught with grief and pain because of the rebellion, all leading to their death. From here, the story then spirals downward. Chapters 3 through 11, they trace the widening ripple effect of the rebellion and of human relationships fracturing at every level. So there's a story about two brothers, Cain and Abel. Cain's so jealous of his brother that he wants to murder him. And God warns him not to give in to the temptation, but he does anyway. He murders him in the field. So Cain then goes on to build a city where violence and oppression reign. And this is all epitomized in the story of Lamech. He's the first man in the Bible to have more than one wife. He's accumulating them like property. And then he goes on to sing a short song about how he's more violent and vengeful than Cain ever was. After this, we get an odd story about the sons of God, which could refer to evil angelic beings, or it could refer to ancient kings who claimed that they descended from the gods. And like Lamech, they acquire as many wives as they wanted, and they produce the Nephilim, these great warriors of old. Whichever view is right, the point is that humans are building kingdoms that fill God's world with violence and even more corruption. In response, we're told that God is broken with grief. Humanity is ruining his good world, and they're ruining each other. And so out of a passion to protect the goodness of his world, he washes it clean of humanity's evil with a great flood. But he protects one blameless human, Noah, and his family, and he commissions him as a new Adam. He repeats the divine blessing and commissions him to go out into the world. And so our hopes are really high, but then Noah fails too, and also in a garden. He goes and he plants a vineyard, and he gets drunk out of his mind. And then one of his sons, Ham, does something shameful to his father in the tent. And so here we have our new Adam, naked and ashamed, just like the first, and the downward spiral begins again. It all leads to the foundation of the city of Babylon. The people of ancient Mesopotamia, they come together around this new technology they have, the brick. And they can make cities and towers bigger and faster than anybody's ever done before. And they want to build a new kind of tower that will reach up to the gods, and they will make a great name for themselves. It's an image of human rebellion and arrogance. It's the garden rebellion now writ large. And so God humbles their pride and scatters them. Now, this is a diverse group of stories, but you can see they're all exploring the same basic point. God keeps giving humans the chance to do the right thing with his world, and humans keep ruining it. These stories are making a claim that we live in a good world that we have turned bad, that we've all chosen to define good and evil for ourselves, and so we all contribute to this world of broken relationships, leading to conflict and violence and ultimately death. But there's hope. God promised that one day a descendant would come, the wounded victor who will defeat evil at its source. And so despite humanity's evil, God is determined to bless and rescue his world. And so the big question, of course, is what is God going to do? And the next story, The Hinge, offers the answer. But for now, that's what Genesis 1 through 11 is all about.
I will be reading from a new Bible, so I also want to, forgive me. Another shout out to Christine Van Horn, who gave me this new Bible. It has commentary and stories by Rod Parsley, who I really love. And it is a new version of the Bible called the Modern English Version. So even if you've read through the Bible before, perhaps this will yet be a new experience for you as you hear a different version. And so we begin with Genesis chapter 1. Out of commentary, forgive me. Thought it would be a little easier to turn to Genesis 1. Here we go. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and void. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the water. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day. Then God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." So God made the expanse and separated the waters which were under the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse. And it was so. God called the expanse heaven. So the evening and the morning were the second day. Then God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. Then God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth produce vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees on the earth, yielding fruit after their kind with seed in them." And it was so. The earth produced vegetation, plants yielding seed after their kind, and trees yielding fruit with seed in them after their kind. And God saw that it was good. So the evening and the morning were the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be signs to indicate seasons and days and years. Let them be lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Then God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. Then God saw that it was good. So the evening and the morning were the fourth day. Then God said, "Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth in the open expanse of the heavens." So God created great sea creatures and every living thing that moves, with which the waters swarmed according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds multiply on the earth." So the evening and the morning were the fifth day. Then God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, livestock and creeping things, and beasts of the earth according to their kinds." And it was so. So God made the beasts of the earth according to their kind, and the livestock according to their kind, and everything that creeps on the earth according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created, then God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures according to," I backed up. Sorry. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." Then God said, "See, I have given you every plant yielding seed which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed. It shall be food for you. To every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, which has the breath of life in it. I have given every green plant for food. And it was so. God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. So the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Thank you for joining me for this first episode of The Bible in Pictures. I'll be back tomorrow.